All right, so again, our first step was to copy the clips we need from our local drive. Don't forget when you're sorting through, you can change from list to icon view to make it easier to find the content you're looking for. All right, once our content is loaded, all right, and saved, then we're going to open Premiere. All right, now we can start our project. All right, we are going to create a new project, and we will call it, what are we going to call it? Quick Change, right? Keep all the names kind of the same. That way, when you're looking for something, you're not searching for weird file names or anything. And we are going to browse to the same folder that we just created, all right? Because if you haven't noticed by now, Premiere does create a bunch of extra files and stuff. So we want it all to go in the same place so that there's no missing links and whatnot, all right? So we opened Premiere, we made a new project, we browse to that folder, and then we're going to press OK. I guess I had one I started last year or at some point, so I'm going to call this number 2 for me. All right, so now Premiere is opening, and pull this over. All right, what would we want to do after that, after we created our project? What, Lauren? Yes, and how do we do that? And import, good. So once those clips are, or after a project is created, we can then go to that location where we saved our clips, and we would import them. All right, so if I can find my folder here, and here's day 1 and day 2, we're bringing those in. All right, so right now I should see your project open, and you have your 2 clips inserted into there. Don't drag them to the timeline yet, because we're going to talk about a bit of masking today. We have our clips in there. Now we're going to kind of start preparing them, all right? The reason I said not to bring them onto the timeline is because we're not going to use the whole clip. Now we could do some kind of trimming on the timeline, but I did want to also show you some of the other tools that I know are on the test also, so I thought we would kind of see it in practice. So if I double click on my first clip, all right, and I play, all right, we have a bunch of stuff, me walking in here. You probably won't have as much because you didn't really have to walk on the scene, but you probably have some extra stuff in the beginning. So, and remember, our source view is showing us the raw unedited clip without any effects applied to it. So what I want to do is now I want to move my playhead here, all right, just to the point, I guess, where before I raise my arm in my case, all right, and I'm going to use what's called the in point, all right. So if you were to look directly underneath the timeline, all right, we have this little curly bracket here, all right. That's called the in point. So, and what that's going to do is once I press that, it's going to hide everything to the left of that when I drag it to the timeline. So I want you to move your playhead over and find the point at which you want it to basically start, all right, and then press the in point. All right, so just scrub over with your playhead within your source view, find where you want it to kind of mark your in, and then you can do the same on the other side, all right? So after I'm done with my snap, I'm going to mark an out point. All right, so now we can see that we've masked the other part of the video. So when I drag this to the timeline now, I'm only going to see that part that has been marked with the in and the out point. All right, so I can drag this over. It makes a timeline, and now the only part of that video that's there is what I've marked as my in and my out. So, all right, so now this clip here, it's going to go from here If I scrub through, I can see that I have my snap. So probably like right, I want to get that second clip to start with my hand up right at the snap for that one. So I'm going to view my second clip. All right, and I can see right here, actually it's kind of right at the beginning for mine. All right, so I'm going to mark this as my in point. I probably should have, I could have marked my out point for this first clip right at this point, right, if I really wanted to get those to match up. But what I can also do now is just drag this one over here and cover that. So look at that. That's pretty close on. So I took that second clip and I marked my in point right to where like my fingers are snapping, all right? So now I can see that when I play it, it's going to snap. Oh, wait. So I did that one too early. I wasn't listening to the sound. So I probably want it to be right about there instead. So you can adjust the start. And I mean, so your in and your out points are kind of like, they call these like non-destructive editing methods, but we're not really destroying this clip so much because we can always just kind of move the duration at the beginning or the end. Let's see how that looks a little better. Right. So now if I play this, my sounds got kind of messed up there. I think they overlapped. So let's go back here, right? So I have my first clip. So I probably, so you want to just adjust that. So there would be my snap. I would bring this in. I can shorten my audio there. And now let's get this second clip going here. So really that in point should be more like there. So let's see how that looks. And I got some extra stuff at the end. I can just kind of trim that off afterwards. All right, so we're basically, the whole thing with this project is you're just kind of lining up the action, and then you're like showing and hiding parts of the layer. All right, by just dragging it in. All right. If your body moved a little bit, like, actually, let's concentrate on that first. So right now, we're trying to get our action to line up. So I have the snap happening right, right in here. So if I play this, it's going from that to that. All right. We'll talk about positioning and scaling if we need to, and then we'll get into the chroma key. So we have our action basically lined up. I think what I'd like to try to do is really to get my positioning to be like identical, right? I feel like it moves a little bit possibly, maybe it's just the lighting. But what we could do is we learned how to turn on rulers. All right, so if I click in here and I say view rulers, so you have to click in that program panel, and then if you say view rulers, I'm going to put a ruler like right in the middle of my nose, all right? And let's see if I go to that next clip. Yeah, see, I'm off a little bit to the side. So what we can do here is select this clip, go to our effect control, all right, and up in this category of motion, we have our position. The first is going to be your X, your second is your Y, all right? And I can just position this, I can move the frame over, all right? So now, look at that. Now it's pretty much dead on, right? I can see that my position is the same. So that might be something you want to do to really get this effect to be really good, all right? Because that positioning of you you know, we could have done it in production where if like we marked the floor and had the camera, or if you went and changed and came back, we could be in the same spot. But this is a way to kind of get your positioning to be the same in post-production. All right, anybody want me to show you how to get those rulers and move your object over, or your frame?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let me pause this. I don't think so. All right, so the first thing let's do is create a space for our background layer, right? We want to put a picture basically underneath of us, right? So let's drag our video just up one layer for each of those, right? Create a space under here. And then find a picture to be used as your background. That's up to you. We just drag those two clips up to the V2 layer. So that way when we bring in a picture and put it under here, we'll eventually see it through there.
Can I be blue when I grow up? Yes.
All right, so let's see. Where should I put myself? I'm going to be in the desert. I don't know. I'm usually never in the desert.
Oh my God, where the target is.
Oh, I put two S's. That's right. Dessert is extra. I don't remember my. Holly, you looking for a picture?
No, you ever see the mini target?
Let's focus, please. You show me that afterwards.
No, it's in the middle of the desert.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to save my image. We're going to save it to that same place in your D drive. Try to collect all your assets in one place.
Do you import it like you would a normal picture?
Yep. Very good. So yes, after we save it, I will import it. Come on.
Oh, neat.
So I have my desert picture, and I will drag that to this layer. All right. So I have my background picture in there. Before I do my chroma keying, I think it's going to be helpful to crop this video, all right, which you may need to do at some point anyway, because, right, we talked about that background need to be kind of even, and I think if we apply a chroma key, we're going to get some inconsistent results. All right, so the first thing we're going to do then, before we actually apply the chroma key effect, is we're going to crop it. So if we go up to the effects palette or workspace, and we type in crop. All right, so I went to my effects, like where we went to our transitions. I typed in crop, and now I'm going to drag that effect onto my video. And then what I want to do, so right, with all of our effects, it gives it the potential of that effect, but then we have to fine tune it. So I'm going to drag over my left value, because I want to get rid of these lights and the background that's in there. All right, so I'm going to crop my frame and even the top to get rid of this light. All right, so I'll do that for the first clip, and then I will do that to the second clip. All right, so we're gonna make it easier for the software to recognize one like consistent color in there, because otherwise we have a lot of different things happening in there. I'm going to save that. All right, so again, all right, so the last part is to now apply what's called the Ultra Key effect. All right, so if we go into our search box and if you type in key, you'll see that there's a bunch of different keys that are available. Alpha adjust, color key, Luma key, track matte key. I found that in Premiere that your Ultra Key works the best. So I'm going to select Ultra Key, and what do you think we're going to do with it to apply the effect to our...
We're going to put it on clip.
Yep, Brendan?
We're going to use the eyedropper tool.
Okay. All right, so yeah, first we're going to drag it onto our clip to apply it, and now, as we're seeing and you're seeing, there's an eyedropper in our effect control. So if we click the eyedropper and then try to pick an area of your... Ooh, that did not get anything.
Look at that.
I'm glad yours worked better than mine. Let's see. Try this again.
Slight issue though, it still shows background.
Alright, so there's a little bit of fine tuning we can do. Alright, I don't know why I'm not seeing my effect applied. That should be all you should have to do, is to click on the color in your image to sample that color to key out. Press that eyedropper. It should sample that color, and we get a basic, it should remove most of that color. If you do have some of this type of kind of shadowing happening, there's some fine tuning that we can do also. All right, so if you look down on your properties here, I found that if we go to the matte generation category and this pedestal value, don't ask me what it does or what it means, but I found that increasing that and some of these other, the shadow area, I think that was what I've adjusted also. Alright, so you can get into that, and let's see, have I done this spill suppression? No, not really. So you can adjust the sliders in here to kind of get that to be what we're looking for, to kind of remove that background. Alright, and now we should see though that if you kind of play around with those settings, that you can then get it to look pretty seamless. Alright, so I'm going to fix this layer also. Adobe After Effects actually does a little better job with keying out, where you almost don't even have to play with these settings. They come out pretty good on their own. Alright, but we could get the lighting a little bit better if we, probably adjusted with that a little bit. Alright, so something like this, I think does a pretty good job. I'm going to really try to get my color a little bit better on there. What would I do? The eyedropper is visible once you apply the Ultra Key effect, just like we did with the crop. Yep. Alright, so as we're saying, to finish this up then, we would say File, Export, Media. Alright, why is Media grayed out? Anybody have any idea? What's the thing that we always forget to do? You have to click in your timeline. I was probably clicked on my effects panel or something. So if I go to File, Export, now Media is active. Alright, our H.264 is good for our preset. I'm going to put this into that same folder, keep everything together. Call this Quick Change. I'm going to put a year on it. Alright, and then finally, always make sure you have like entire sequence selected just in case, and then we'll export. Alright, so it says it's been exported. I always like to check the video before I actually go to upload. So if I go to that location, where am I over here? D, Mr. D. Quick Change. then I can look at this one. Wow, that was pretty good. I gotta say so myself. Pat myself on the back there. My hand lined up very nicely there. Alright, so I will now upload that to YouTube.